I was just following my, teen female, Uncle Tommy's own definition of loose girls. Tommy was the most significant skirt chaser back in the day. He'd be messing around with multiple girls at once, chasing them wherever he'd go like a dog or something. My mom and aunts would constantly tell Tommy it was wrong, but he wouldn't care, and my granny thought it was all cute and encouraged him. Fast forward to now, and Tommy is angry because my cousin Mariah, a young teen, is talking to boys who are literally exactly like he was. Tommy was arguing with my cousin's mum, Sophia, because Mariah was hanging out with and texting these boys instead of doing her schoolwork. Tommy even got Granny involved, and they both blamed Sophia for who Mariah's talking to. Granny was over at ours the other day and was talking about how worried she and Tommy are about Mariah. I didn't try hiding it and was laughing. Granny was like, "This isn't funny. Mariah can't be behaving this way and she shouldn't be hanging around skirt chasers." I told her, what goes around comes around, and basically that it's karma because Tommy was a skirt chaser himself, and now he has to be on the other end with his own daughter hanging around boys who were exactly like he was. Granny was so mad that she left early, which she never did. My mom and two of my aunts were over as well. All three of them agreed that what I said was funny and technically true, but I'm old enough to know that it's one of those times when you laugh about it privately but not to their faces, and it was something for an adult to talk about in a serious matter, not to bring up as a joke. I know probably am, but still, am I the idiot for saying what goes around comes around? Do as I say, not as I do is literally Tommy's motto. He's always like, "I never did that," but we've all heard the stories growing up, and Mariah knows Tommy pretending to be an angel is nonsense. Not the idiot. I love this as well as your maturity and awareness. Yes, generally these things are laughed at privately, but Granny needed to hear it. Good on you. It seems you've got good judgment, so keep making these comments. We need more of the younger generation speaking out on things like this. It's extra funny, or bad, that he's blaming her mother when they wouldn't have a child together if she hadn't been attracted to that type of guy. I agree that Granny encouraged that pathetic behaviour, and it's on her too. Maybe she should have been a mother who raised sons who actually respected women more. The amount of men that I've encountered who know how to talk to women and be respectful has taught me that the ones who don't were raised by the boys will be boys attitude. OP, remind Granny that if Mariah was a boy, she would think it was cute, just like she was with Tommy. OP, your mum and aunts are right. There are some things you laugh about privately, and this sounds like one of those. Have you considered that your uncle may have grown since then, realised he was wrong and been genuinely worried about his daughter? No, I disagree completely. When you can point out the hypocrisy of misogynists, it is appropriate to laugh at them. Laughing about it privately is what allows people like Tommy to be unaccountable and to go through life with no reflection on his own behaviour. It's good that someone pointed out his own behaviour to his face. Being a hypocrite isn't a solid teaching foundation. He could offer Mariah genuine insight and admit he was once like those boys, which is how he knows what they're like. He could show humility, saying he regrets who he was and wants to help her avoid boys who treat her like he once treated girls. Of course, this would require personal growth and acknowledging his own faults, which doesn't sound likely. My wedding is coming up in a few weeks, and it's supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. I, 28 female, have been planning it with my fiancé, 30 male. Everything's coming together, except for my sister, 26 female. A bit of backstory, my sister and her ex Jake had been together for several years. They broke up about 6 months ago and it was pretty messy. She was devastated and I've been there for her through all of it. I understand she's still struggling and I've tried my best to support her. The problem started when she told me she wanted to invite Jake to my wedding. I was taken aback because things ended badly between them and she was clearly not over it. I told her from the start that I wasn't comfortable inviting him, especially since it was such a painful breakup for her. She seemed okay with that at first, but then she started pushing me harder. She said it wasn't fair for her to pretend everything was fine and that I was being insensitive to her feelings. I explained that this was my wedding and I wanted it to be a day focused on joy, not uncomfortable situations. But she's really upset now. Then it escalated. She told me that if Jake wasn't invited, she wouldn't attend the wedding. She says it's too important for her to have him there for closure. I understand she's going through something tough, but this is my wedding and I don't want it overshadowed by old drama. I've tried to be firm and said she could either come and respect my decision or not come at all. But now she's telling the rest of the family that I'm being selfish and that I'm prioritizing a wedding day over her emotional well-being. It's tearing me up, but I really feel like I'm standing my ground. I'm now questioning if I'm being too harsh. I know weddings are big, but it feels like she's making this all about her, and it's not the time or place to do that. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Say, okay, you're off the guest list, and then hang up. Your wedding is not the venue for her drama. Whatever you do, don't keep reasoning with her and negotiating with her. She's out. Invite your nice colleague or neighbour instead. P.S. She needs to stop being this pathetically desperate for a guy who doesn't want her. It would be weird for Jake to even want to come, but let's say he did and does go. Sister is probably imagining a reconciliation happening because it's a wedding and love is in the air, and she's watched one too many Hallmark movies. But what is going to happen in reality is he will come with someone which will set her off. He will start hitting on the bridesmaids, which will set her off, or he'll spend the night actively trying to avoid her while she chases him around like a lovesick puppy, setting her off. No matter what, she will end up ruining the wedding. Not coming is always a choice, but not coming because an ex won't be there is delusional and sad. I think she's hoping Jake will reach out to her to figure out going together as each other's +1 if he gets the invite, possibly triggering a reconciliation. That level of delusion needs serious help, though. If she wants closure, she calls him like an adult and has a last dinner with him. Your wedding is not a place for her private dramas. Your in-laws don't have to be witnesses of this. OP, I hope you have a beautiful, drama-free wedding. My Uncle John has a super fun way to make kids cry. He will get the oil from lemon rinds and touch balloons. Sometimes they pop immediately and sometimes they take a few seconds. At every party I've ever attended with balloons and children, he left a trail of torn latex and crying children. My parents think it's all in good fun. I think he's an idiot. My sister had her quinceanera last week. My contribution was a balloon arch. My sister is obviously a teen and didn't really care about balloons, but we got some very nice pictures with the arch. Then I set it up outside. A few other people used it for pictures as well. Then my uncle showed up. I went up to him and told him that I'd paid for the arch for my babysitter's party and wanted him to leave it alone. He said he would. He didn't. I didn't want any accidents inside, so I didn't add the 3 balloons with fart spray to the arch until I moved it outside, and the balloons were double baggers. I'd blown up one inside another before I inflated the outer one, but you could see the inside balloon. It was too much of a temptation. He resisted for 10 minutes or so. Then someone came and told me. I went out. He was about to pick up the inner balloon, but I told him not to touch it and to stop blowing up the decorations. He didn't listen. He said he wasn't doing anything except touching the balloons, and that it wasn't his fault they were popping. So be it. He picked up the inner balloon. It wasn't as inflated as the outer one, so the surface tension was lower. Therefore, it took almost 2 seconds for the balloon he was holding so proudly to pop. Gagging, dry heaving, watery eyes, a profound desire to be elsewhere. I went through all that. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be drenched in the liquid form of fart spray. Drenched is an overstatement. There was a maximum of half a fluid ounce of fart liquid in the balloon, but he was covered in it. And the pop did aerosolize it somewhat, so it got all over. He ended up having to go home and change. It was only like half an hour he was gone, maybe an hour. I wasn't paying attention. He did come back though, freshly showered. He was angry that I would play such a childish prank at such an important event for my family. I said I had no idea what he was talking about. I reminded him that he'd promised to leave the balloons alone and that I had warned him not to touch the balloon that got him. My family is divided. They thought I was a jerk to play a joke at my sister's party, but they're almost universally sick of him popping balloons. My grandfather laughed his posterior off. Not the idiot, he had it coming. He only had himself to blame. Your uncle deserved it. He's been making kids cry for years. He was long overdue for a taste of his own medicine. Plus, you warned him not to pop the balloons, but he had to do it anyway. The party wasn't ruined, and your grandpa got a good laugh. OP should surreptitiously leave a couple of helium-filled balloons on the dude's porch from time to time. Just really makes him associate balloons with stinky terror. He had a mess around and find out moment, and he deserved every stinky bit of it. What is wrong with a grown man who likes to make little kids cry? Also, he is not invited to your wedding, right? I'm sure you'll send him a nice balloon bouquet as an apology. My cousin recently passed away, leaving behind her son, James, a young teen. My cousin wasn't a great human being. She married rich and almost immediately lost her mind. She got into the sugar that eventually killed her and spoiled her son to a genuinely unbelievable point. Now let me make this clear. I like James. For a kid with his background, he's turned out remarkably well. He's nice in a very etiquette-bound way and has been very unassuming since we took him in, which is why I feel like such an idiot for this. A few days ago, James called my mother Mom. He did the same to my dad later that night. He just slipped it into the conversation, and I think everyone hoped that the lack of reaction would be enough to tell him to knock it off. But it wasn't. Since then, he's used it increasingly. Just a few times a day, but it always seems painfully awkward. My parents have both admitted to me that they don't feel comfortable with it at all, but they're trying to support him, and he's already lost basically everything about his life, so they don't want to cause more drama. Yesterday, I pulled James aside and told him gently that he really shouldn't be calling them his parents, they're his aunt and uncle. He's a young teen, he had parents, however iffy, and this is more a guardianship than an adoption. We're all happy to care for him, but he's not their son. He's pretty hard to read, but I think he started to tear up, and now I feel really guilty. At the same time, my family is allowed to have boundaries, something James needs more practice with, and it's better to nip this in the bud now than let him build up a fantasy in his head. You are the idiot. It wasn't your place to say anything to your cousin. It's an issue for your parents to address with him, not you, at the right time. Why on earth did you feel the need to crap all over a young teen orphan struggling with the loss of a parent? You need to learn to stay in your lane and be quiet. Yesterday, I pulled James aside and told him gently that he really shouldn't be calling them his parents. I cringe at this. Who do you think you are? All of you, for that matter. You should be so honoured that he would see you all in a parental way. He deserves better than you all. Apparently his whole family is full of not great human beings. Regardless of your parents' lack of spine in this situation, it was not your place to tell him this. He's a kid on the cusp of an already very emotional point in his developmental stage who has just had his whole world flipped upside down. These boundaries are something that your parents need to enforce themselves. I find it incredibly heartless and sad that he'll never again be allowed to call someone mom and dad again, but that's my opinion. My husband and I, 35 female, have 2 daughters named Logan, a young grammar school female, and Blake, a preschool female. I'm pregnant and we've just discovered it's another little girl. Yesterday night we went to my in-laws' house for dinner. We shared the news that we were having another girl and everyone congratulated us. My mother-in-law can be a bit opinionated, especially when she drinks, and she was pretty intoxicated at this point. My mother-in-law said she's happy we're having another girl, but she said she wants to help with the name this time. I asked why she wanted to help with the name, and she said we have a history of picking boy names for little girls. She then said she hasn't liked our name choices so far because they're too masculine. She said she bit her tongue the last 2 pregnancies but wants a say this time around. She says that everyone assumes she has grandsons when she shares my daughter's names, and she's sick of having to clarify that she only has granddaughters. I was honestly shocked, especially considering that our daughters' names are frequently used as girl names. I said that our daughters are beautiful and we love their names, and it's rude of her to comment on how she doesn't like them several years after the fact. My husband agreed that she was being ridiculous and said that she doesn't get any input regarding what we name our children. My daughter Logan got upset and asked if she had a boy name. I told her that there are girls and boys named Logan, and everyone knows that. My mother-in-law told my daughter she's a beautiful girl but her name is masculine. She then said she could go by Lulu or Lily when she gets older if that would make her feel more comfortable. My father-in-law got my mother-in-law to stop talking about it, but I was in a sour mood for the rest of the night. This morning, my mother-in-law called and apologised. She said that she was taking a break from alcohol for a bit, that she got overexcited, and that she felt embarrassed about her comments. I was still annoyed and decided to mess with her a bit. I told my mother-in-law that I accepted her apology, which is true, and that we didn't need help with the name because we'd already picked one. This is true, but my husband and I are planning on naming this baby Charlotte. My mother-in-law asked what the name was and I lied and said Petunia Poppy. I said that I thought she'd like the name since it's more feminine than Logan or Blake. My mother-in-law freaked out and said we couldn't do that to a little girl. She said our daughter would get bullied and that employers wouldn't take her seriously. I said that I liked the name and I'm not going to change my mind. I told my husband about the joke and thought it was hilarious at first, but then his mom called several times. I called her back and said I was just playing with her and that we have a different name that I think she'll like picked out. My mother-in-law was angry and said I was making fun of her and being petty when she was trying to apologise. I said I meant it as a joke, but she's very upset and thinks I was being mean. I don't think it's that deep, but maybe I'm wrong. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. She's free to not like the masculine names you gave your girls. They are boy names, but she's a jerk for saying something, especially in front of your girls. Then, instead of accepting the apology when she acknowledged that she had an alcohol problem, you blew the thing up further. Very unnecessary. Also, you might want to think the third name. Logan may really feel a certain way about such a girly name for her new sister now that she knows she has a boy name. Or at least call the baby Charlie. Honestly, I'd think you had 2 boys and a girl if I heard that name combo. You might need to help her embrace her name or create a nickname. Not the idiot. I really hope that baby Charlotte gets called Charlie forever as a nickname, just so your mother-in-law ends up with 3 granddaughters with boy names. Your prank was harmless, even if her feelings got hurt. I would tell her that while, yes, she apologized and has been forgiven, she really needs to apologize to Logan. You and your husband's opinions really aren't the ones that matter.